We talked to new world champion Simon Lauter.
You've had a pretty good year, I must say.
For sure, the best you can have.
We find out his plans for the future.
So now you're just going to concentrate purely on mod.
Yes, and I look forward to it a lot.
His background.
You're not a full-time professional sponsored racer, are you?
I'm very far away from it, to be honest.
His pro building secrets.
Initially, it was kind of a building mistake in my car.
And his driving tips.
We panned over to you. Oh, you're upside down. What happened
Yes.
there? Yeah.
And the story behind this,
Find out what he thinks about touring car versus 12 scale.
I don't know whether this is true, but I think it's easier to be kind of a one-hit wonder in 12 scale than in a touring car.
And learn one reason Simon is so fast.
He's not even only watching my car, he's all at the same time watching others to compare.
And the competition in electric touring car.
What is good for the market and for the hobby itself is to have a good rivalry. I think at the moment the things get rather heated in touring car, let's say it like this.
Hello and welcome to the RCTV podcast in our series that we're talking with the 2024 World Champions. This time we're talking to this guy right here, the white hoodie himself, Simon Lauter from Germany. So let's bring in Simon. And
hello, guys.
There he is. There's the champ. How are you?
And there's the hoodie, of course.
There's the hoodie.
Yeah, I'm fine. Thank you for asking.
Awesome.
I'm a little bit sick at the moment, so probably my voice is going to crack once again. But this brought me some good luck, the races this year, because there were like 2 or 3 races. I was sick as well for whatever reason. And all of them went quite good, so
Yeah.
we will see.
You've had a pretty good year, I must say.
For sure, the best you can have, because basically I did some modified already at the ETS, but and had good results there as well with 2 podiums. But at the same time, I think it's the best year possible for racing stock, and that's why it's so good to finish stock racing now, because it's like the TITC 12 scale Euros, 10 scale Euros, and the Worlds. So I think that it's not a better year possible.
Yeah, it's really good. I mean, I was going to touch on that later on, but you've already thrown it out there. So you're retired from stock now.
Yes.
And I mean, I kind of already knew this, but I was going to touch on it anyway. But so now you're just going to concentrate purely on mod.
Yes, and I look forward to it a lot. So basically, it's not a decision that was made at the Worlds. I said this at the beginning of the year already, that I wanted to have one last shot for the World's title. This was the main goal, or the main race we focused on this year, because the Gubbio Worlds 2022 were quite, I don't know whether you want to call it unfortunate, but you could also say that we were not best prepared for this race. I have not done that much practice as you usually would expect to do for a Worlds and all that. And that's why it was important for me to do my best, show what I can do in stock, and leave on a kind of positive note, if you say it like this.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm really looking forward, because it's quite exhausting at the same time to practice for 2 different classes, for different tires, different electronics, all that stuff. You need to get used to kind of, or switch your driving style. So this is quite hard, to be honest.
Yeah. And so now you are, well, I mean, you've called yourself a semi-pro. So,
yes.
I mean, explain to those of us who aren't, or those out there, I should say, who aren't familiar with your particular situation. You're not a full-time professional sponsored racer, are you?
I'm very far away from it, to be honest. I work 40 hours a week at the company in Munich. I'm an engineer, or a mechanical designer, or however you want to call it. And that's why it's very hard for me to take all the free time for all the big races. And I spend all my holiday I have, which is 30 days, plus there is a possibility of getting 6 days extra in Germany. And I used all of these days for RC racing only this year, which is demanding, and that's why it's important to have the races think of them as kind of holiday and do some sightseeing as well if you travel to great places like the Worlds. So we've, for example, done Los Angeles sightseeing, San Francisco sightseeing as well. But yeah, that's why I call myself a semi-professional, because it's very far from being a professional earning all the money you need. Of course, I have some sponsorship contracts. I don't want to lie about this, but it's not like you can live from them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's this whole situation, and that's what makes it special, kind of, to compete in modified against all the top guys.
Yeah.
Because most of the top guys are full-time professionals.
And when you say you're a mechanical designer, you're I mean, as far as I know, you're not working full time for an RC company. This is for like what I mean,
Yeah,
I
we do.
suppose what sort of
We do
industry?
injection mold machines in
Okay.
Munich area. So I'm not close to RC business in
Right.
my
Okay.
day-to-day life.
Yeah. I mean, I just wanted to clarify that because there are racers who are
Yes.
work in the RC industry and then they go off and race, but it's kind of a mix of
Yes, it's a completely different company,
yeah, yeah.
completely different life.
You work and live outside of the RC industry, but then you spend all of your holiday time and money, I imagine, traveling around the world to race it. Like you say, TITC, California, all over
Yes.
ETS and everywhere. So
Yes.
it's pretty cool. So now that brings me to, I mean, I think it was early last year, or was it this year? I think it was maybe Lucas Urbane, your teammate on Automatics. He announced on his Facebook page he was going to, I guess, take a sabbatical from his full-time professional job. Is that and basically concentrate on RC? Is that are you, and everyone's personal position in life is different, obviously. Is that something that you're maybe looking to do or explore, or just no way I'm going to do
I'm
that?
not super sure whether this depends on me, to be honest. Because at first you need a job that gives you the opportunity to do this. I'm not super sure whether this would be even possible. At the same time, at the moment, I'm a team leader in our company, so it's kind of hard, I guess, to leave 2 years and come back in the same position, because this
Yeah.
is, as far as I know, I'm not super deep into the details, but that's the promise Lucas had
Right.
1 year ago. So I think I would need to go into further investigation on this topic,
Yeah.
but I did not think so far yet, to be honest, because um, I still consider this kind of my hobby or my addiction at the same time, but I'm not sure whether going full pro would even be a good thing to do, to be honest, because there's a lot of or way more pressure coming into the game. There are different things you need to consider. You can't decide for the best sponsors you have on car or on technology or whatever, because you have to think more with the money aspect and all that.
Yeah.
So right now, I don't consider this a valid option, to be fair.
Yeah. No, I was just throwing it out there because, like I said, it is like literally one of your teammates
Yes, yeah, yeah.
who made the. I guess at the time it was maybe. I imagine for him it was a pretty big announcement or decision. Obviously, to go on a sabbatical or whatever it's called. I think he's from France, isn't he?
Yes,
So,
yes.
and like I said, everyone's in a different position else
I
everywhere.
think
So
he's super lucky with his decision, and I think it's a great opportunity, and I'm happy
yeah,
for him, because I really like Lucas, and I really think he's doing great on and off track, supporting the brand, and just kind of living his dream.
yeah,
So I'm happy for him, but I'm not super sure whether this would be the right call for me,
yeah,
at least at the moment.
yeah,
We-
for sure.
You never know. You never know.
Yeah. So I mean, starting at the beginning of 2024, 12th Euros in Sicily, um, your third time ever racing 12th scale pan car. Is that right?
I think so, yes.
And so, what were the other two times? I imagine they weren't European Championships. Were they just club races
No,
or
these were
bigger races?
basically club races, or let's say the official name is like SK in Germany, which is like German national qualifying runs or
Okay.
qualifying races, kind of.
Okay.
And I did not do very good at those races because I think I got second of 3 in the first one and I got fifth or something in the second one. And then we had 2 or 3 more practice days to prepare for the Euros. But to be honest, the main goal for me attending the Euros was to give a good support to Max because we don't have that big base of 12 scale team drivers. So yeah, to kind of help him develop a setup, get better, faster, and yeah, kind of show the potential of the car because Max got world champion before, I think 3 or 4 months before the Euros, and yeah, I just wanted to be a good backup. But at the event, yeah, it felt very good directly from the start. So we saw, yeah, probably there's a chance that I can fight for the top spots, and that's what happened in the end. To be
Yeah.
fair, I knew that I'm not going to be in 12 scale class because I think if you are an okayish or a good 10 scale racer, you can manage the 12 scale part as well. The problem with 12 scale is the the car preparation and the setup and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And what was super special at the 12 scale Euros was that the track was super bumpy, and this came into my favor for sure because all the experience the other guys had with 12 scale
Yeah.
did not get them anywhere with setup because it just did not help. Because everything was very special, and I think I had initially it was kind of a building mistake in my car.
Whoops.
I think, or that's at least what the other guys say. In my opinion, it was like I tested this and I went this direction, and it's unusual, but I did not know that it was unusual because I'm
Right.
not that familiar with 12 scale, and in the end, this kind of provided to be a game changer setup wise. And
Did the
yeah,
other guys
for
end up copying that mistake that you did then?
Oh well, no harm, no foul.
kind of, but they did not have enough track time
Yeah.
with this kind of setup, and they did not get used to this fast. Because if you can remember, I was struggling every run the first 2 minutes quite a lot, where the
Yeah.
car was super hard to drive and super hard to manage, but the speed came up end of the run all the time.
Yeah.
And yeah, this is what happened kind of for them as well, but they could not manage because they could not keep it on track the first
Right,
2 minutes.
right.
So yeah, I
That's
don't know
just
whether it was an advantage or not, but
it just ended up being what you're used to, and they're not.
yeah, I
Right?
knew this because my car drove like this for all weekend,
Yeah.
and I thought probably it's tire preparation or whatever. We tested everything. We did not come up with the idea that it could be the setup thing, but yeah, that's how it is. I was lucky, but I will take it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you had some. I mean, I was reviewing the A finals earlier, and yeah, actually, it was a very difficult the A1 final. Yan ended up taking that one, and then you were just battling constantly with Ollie in the second, and then again in the third, and you had to come back, and it was down to a tiebreaker in
Yes,
the
yes,
A3.
it came down to the tiebreaker. During A3, I knew I had to make a pass on Jan to have a chance on the
Yeah.
overall title to get a 1 and a 2. What happened in A1 is that a bearing broke and went
Ah.
through the rim because it got so hot. That's what most people did not see
Okay.
on
Okay.
the video or whatever, or on the stream, because I got a lot of messages. How can you fuck this up with a lead like I think 3 seconds?
Yeah.
And
Because you were just we I mean, like I said, I was watching it just early today. We panned over to you. Oh, you're upside down. What happened
Yes.
there? Yeah.
And the story behind this, I think only Max and Christian Donat know this. We were standing next to each other on the driver's stand, and I told them already 3 or 4 or 5 laps before that something is super strange because Christian was driving behind me on track because he was lapped already. And I told him, yeah, be cautious. I don't know what my car is driving, what my
Oh,
car is
man.
doing. And yeah, then the bearing gave up, kind of, on the rim gave up.
So
But in the end, we
mechanical
managed.
failure. Yeah.
Yeah, I think more I would not call it mechanical failure. I would call it mechanic failure because most likely I tightened the screw too
Ah,
much.
okay, okay. All right, well, 50-50 maybe. But
Yeah.
but I mean, still, it ended up being, your like I said, your third race event ever with 12 scale, and you end up winning the Euros. So, I mean, with that, if you did you decide that next year's 12th, are you going to be in mod for the Euros and the Worlds?
I try to be, yes. I did not do the nationals because I think some other race was when the 12 scale nationals were, so I need to check with qualification for the Euros and all that stuff. But I will try to um, run the Euros and the Worlds in modified this time, because in my opinion, I don't know whether this is true, but I think it's easier to be kind of a one-hit wonder in 12 scale than in touring car, because most of the pro guys concentrate more on touring car racing, I think.
Yeah,
So that's if you do good, if you practice hard with 12 scale, you do tire testing and all that stuff, I think you can get some kind of a one-hit wonder faster, or have a good position or whatever in the end. It's easier to do there than it is in touring car, because in touring car you will have big problems keeping up with tire usage and all that stuff in during practice. But for 12 scale, you have kind of an advantage, or I think the gap is not that big between the super pros and the semi pros, or however you want to call
yeah.
guys like me, Max, Jan, whoever.
Now, do you, other than ETS, do you race touring car over the winter?
Oh yes, touring car is
I
my
mean, that's
main
your
class,
main
and
thing.
that's
Yeah,
what I
of course.
touring car is and will always be my main class. And we do like nearly all the practice we do in touring car running. Just this winter, probably there will be some 12 scale. Um, But we need to manage with practice time and all that stuff, because it's not so super easy, and we don't have, or I don't have that many tracks around me.
Yeah,
There's one smaller track that is super good for 12 scale, so that's why 12 scale got a little bit more into my focus, because it's just better practice conditions for me, because there's no big track for me to practice touring car on, apart from my local club in Augsburg, but the big track is only like every 2 months or something.
yeah,
So it's hard to do the same practice as, I don't know, Bruno, Alex, Michael, where they just fly or go to event they want to
yeah.
take part, and then they're there in practice.
Now, so the next event that we saw you at, apart from ETS, was at the Roeselare in Belgium for the Touring Car Euros. Now that one, if I remember right, you won the first two A finals? Is that
Yes.
right? Yeah.
Yep.
No, I didn't actually realize this, but you actually won the because I wasn't there last year for 23. You won the Euros for spec in 23.
Yes.
Yeah, so I mean, back to back defending champion there,
Yes. But what
and
you need to keep in mind is that 2023 was in Turkheim, which is a track that is 1 hour from my home.
yeah,
So for 2023, the Euros were the big goal, and same as for 2024, the Worlds were. So we did a lot of practice in Turkheim as well last year, so 2023, and we did not do this for 2024 for the Euros, because it's like an 8 or 9 hour drive for me
yeah,
to go there. So we have not even been there for the warm-up race, because we at this time we concentrated more on the ETS preparation and modified, and the Eigen ETS was like 4 weeks or 3 weeks, I think, before the Touring Car Euros. And Eigen is also a track that is only 2 hours from me, so we decided to concentrate more on the ETS in Eigen than on the Touring Car Euros. But yeah, I enjoyed the Euros as well, quite a lot. I think it's very similar to the 12 scale Euros, because the traction on track was very different compared to what the other guys, at least what they told me, was there at the warm up. because it was rather cold and there was some rain in the evenings, and even
Yeah.
I think the Q5 and Q6 or only Q6 or something was in the
Yeah,
rain.
we had to take down the camera because it was raining so much
Yeah, I
at
think
one point. Yeah.
so. For sure, this equaled out the field once again, and yeah, in the end, it was. I really enjoyed the event. The track was super good. The layout was very interesting, very fast, and yeah, I had a teammate starting behind me with Ollie, who did a good job defending the other Ollie Payne, and yeah, that's how I could build a gap and secure it to the end, kind
Yeah.
of.
I mean, you seem to have. I mean, obviously, you have a great relationship with Ollie B, but Ollie Payne from the UK. Another set of very close battling with him. So is he? I guess in the spec class. You're moving up and away from him now into mods. So you're going to be battling to get into the top 2 or 3 with Macau and Mark.
Yeah, I think this year, especially with Schumacher being kind of, let's say, on top of their game, being super strong in all conditions, or in 12 scale and 10 scale. Of
Yeah.
course, he was one of the main challengers or main rivals, if you can say it like this. And I think always a main challenger or one of the rivals is Team X-Ray with Adam and Jan this year.
Yeah.
And yeah, of course, then we have a super strong team with Max, Olli Bultink, Lukas Ellerbrock, and so on. For the future, yeah, this will kind of switch, and it's rather interesting that I will not competing with those guys anymore, or most likely, and it will be more. Let's hope it to be Bruno, Michael, Marc, and Lukas or whoever. Um, there will also be races where it will for sure not be those 4 guys and
Yeah.
rather one of the others. But still, I'm kind of looking forward to it. And at the same time, I'm very sure to race some other stock guys in the near future as well, because I can imagine that, for example, Lukas Ellerbrock will move up to modified division very soon. And
Yeah, I was going to ask if there's other drivers that you're aware of maybe moving up. I say moving up. I mean, spec is obviously
yeah,
very competitive, but moving into mod.
yeah, I think I'm realistic enough that we can call it moving up for sure. That's what we need to call it. And yeah, I think probably Lucas, but it's nothing I know, but that's what I just can think, because he's running stock and modified at the ETS as well. And yeah, there are other super talented guys. For example, Lewis, if he races a little bit more often, Lewis Kretschmer, he's doing super good at the ETS, and he tries modified during practice as well. And I can imagine that even Ollie Payne is going to modified someday, because he's running modified in 12 scale as well, as far as I know, on a regular basis. So yeah, I think we will meet again on track.
I hope you do. I mean, it's always amazing to see. I mean, when we broadcast the Euros, seeing the drivers from all the different countries. But when all of those, you have different country flags, on the grid list, but then also different chassis manufacturers as well. I think that's absolutely fascinating. It's a bit like Formula One, where they design all the cars within a particular specified set of rules, but they're designed so closely and the competition's so tight that everybody's within a half a second of each other, maybe out on the track or something like that.
And I think that this competition is even necessary for the market to be interesting to customers, because I think when I started racing automatics, they were quite dominant the first year, especially in Pro Stock and at the ETS, where we were like top 6 position in the end result or something. And I think no other manufacturer even got a podium that year. So we were super dominant. And for sure, it's good to sell many cars at the beginning, but after 1 year, the development stops kind of.
Yeah.
And you don't get new market shares, and you kind of even split the hobby drivers, let's say it like this, and that's not good for the market. I think what is good for the market and for the hobby itself is to have a good rivalry. I think at the moment the things get rather heated in touring car, let's say it like this. I'm not super sure whether this helps, but to have a good rivalry with different manufacturers that are capable of winning races is what you need.
Yeah.
And yeah, obviously you have Schumacher, X-Ray, and Automatics, but at the same time you have Akio with Axon,
Yeah.
or Krappi and Yannick with Yokomo, and all of them can do good. You have Dominic Reiner with Serpent as well, and so I think you have at least 6 manufacturers that are capable of winning races, and there are even more that you can expect a lot of in future
Yeah.
with Iris, RC Maker. I don't even know Tamiya, of course. I have Tamiya history.
Yeah.
So it's the best thing that can happen there. That
Yeah.
there are
I think
multiple
so.
manufacturers on the market.
I mean, I used to, touring car was when I used to live in Southern California. Touring car was pretty much all I did, and it was so tight. There was so much touring car racing going on because that was the heyday of the parking lot racing, as we called it in the States. But I can tell you, we have just talked to Yillis just recently, and he's told us that at some unspecified point in the future, the Infinity car is going to be redesigned. They're going to have a new one, and so he's going to be out on track as well. So,
What did he tell you already from the big news?
I don't know. Well, I mean, we
Because what the market says is that
yeah.
there will be big news with Infinity soon.
Yes. I mean, we're in talks with that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, we don't want to spill the beans just yet,
I'm serious.
but
No,
yeah.
that's not our thing to spill.
No.
But yeah, I think that could be interesting as well if it
Mm,
comes true. I don't know what's the
very
status at
much
the
so. Yeah.
moment, but yeah, will be
Yeah.
good. Future is bright.
Yes. Yes. And I think it will be very, very interesting. Touring car. And well, on road, I should say,
Yes, yes.
coming up. So now you mentioned in your prep and your warm up race stuff like that. You mentioned we a lot. Now the other person in that we equation, I imagine, is your very close friend Tim Wall. Is that right?
Yes, yes, most of the time. Usually, I'm talking of we if I mean Tim and myself,
Yeah.
or the whole team, because
Yeah.
I still consider it to be a big team effort, and yeah, but it's important for me to have the background, to have him as support, and he's kind of he's not racing the big races anymore, but he's doing the yeah preparation for a lot of guys, and he's kind of taking the part as team mechanic at the races. But as I'm an idiot in wrenching, that most of the time he's helping out myself a lot, and that's why we do a lot of practice together. We don't live that far away from each other, so it's like 2 hours drive, 2.5 hours, which is okay-ish if you meet in the middle for practice. And yeah, that's why we just have a very strong connection on RC racing, but we get along very well, and I would consider him a very, very good friend of mine as well.
Does he? I mean, I mentioned him. I actually asked Max in over Messenger. You know, it's like who's this Tim guy? And you know, before I talk to you, because I just wanted to. I mean, you made a post on your RC Facebook page, Simon Lauter RC, about how much help he was for you after the Worlds win, obviously. And you know, it sounds like he was I mean, is coach or mentor fair to say as well?
Yeah, I think so. So what you need to know is that Tim is doing this hobby for a very long time as well, and he is racing modified for several years. I think 10 or more years even, and he has modified ETS podiums as well.
Right.
Ettlingen, for example, so he's a good racer himself. So that's very good and helps us to push each other every practice, because he knows that he has to do his best, and I know that I have to do my best to beat him that day. And we even kind of make a small challenge out of it, who's doing the fastest lap, and then
Yeah.
cumulate them over the year and see who won the
Okay.
challenge in the end, which is kind of our
That's a
little
good way
fun
to do
thing
it.
to do.
That's a really good way
And
to do it.
yeah, and yeah, he's a super good guy, and he's probably the most perfectionist guy I know in the hobby with car preparation and all that stuff. So most of the time when I do the preparation for big races, I will either travel to him or he will visit me, and we will do everything together because it's more fun on one side, and it's yeah, kind of we get faster with it if you do it together. If you have two or even three cars like at the Worlds that need to be prepared, it's better that one guy does one step for all three cars than
Yeah.
both of us have to do it individually. And yeah, that's kind of the connection we have. And yeah, that's why I value all his inputs as well, because for me it's always important to have someone watching the races as well and give
Yeah.
me a feedback on it, because this helps a lot, because then you don't need to concentrate that much during the run
Yeah.
thinking, oh, what is the car doing, what should be better setup wise, what should be better driving wise. Because if you can keep this out of your head, or out of your head a little bit more than the others, this helps for sure to just concentrate on kind of your
Yes.
and
Yes.
do what you can do on track, and the others take more care of the setup and the preparation and
Yeah.
whatever.
I mean, that's a really good point. You know, he's basically acting as a spotter for you, but afterwards, and you don't have to maybe rewind the live footage or something like that, and
Yeah, I
because
think
the footage isn't always going to be on your car, but he's only watching your car.
yes, exactly. And he's not even only watching my car, he's all at the same time watching others to compare what are others doing on
Yeah.
lines, what are other cars doing setup wise. And I think the market as it is right now proves that this helps for sure, because you
Yeah.
have Bruno with Francesco, you have Ronald with Robert, you have Michael with some of Schumacher guys most of the time, Andy Murray. You have
Yeah.
Mark, who has Pumpy back at the moment, who's joining him for races and all that stuff. So it seems to help that if you have someone
Oh yeah,
supporting you in this case.
for sure. I
And
mean,
even if it's just one guy sitting next to you, calming you down after you do a mistake or whatever, even if
yeah.
it's just that, it helps for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, if you were a nitro racer, he'd be talking to you on a headset, I suppose. You know,
Yes,
as
he
one
would
of your
he
pit
would
guys.
be the guy. Yes.
Yeah, I remember. I mean, back when I used to race at SoCal RC, there was a couple of brothers that worked at Associated, and there was one who was the racer and the other was the designer. And every time the brother who was a racer hit a corner dot, he would say, "That's 25 cents. That's 25 cents." So he'd charge his brother. So maybe that's something maybe you could do next year.
Yeah, kind of as a motivation. But
Yeah.
with my driving
Who's
style,
ahead
this
on
will not
money?
help. I can tell you, with my driving style, all the time I need to, if I need to pay all the time I hit a dot, then I will be in big financial troubles.
Okay, well, there's that. Okay, maybe don't mention it too. We won't put that in the podcast then. Maybe.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah. So let's see who I haven't. Now you mentioned a few of the drivers already that are German racers that I assume you guys see each other all the time at the German nationals. So you've got yourself, Jan Rithieski, Max Mockler, Mark Reinhard, Lucas Ellerbach, Ronald Volker. I didn't even write him down. You know, he's another one in there. Greiner, Dominic Greiner, you know, world champion and Euro champion in Nitro, and now he's running only electric. Made the A final for Mod. You know, so he's obviously doing pretty good now. After a year or so of running. Do you guys see each other a lot during I guess the German racing season, or
I
just at
think
ETS?
so. For example, Jan, I don't meet that often, or even Mark, I don't meet because they just live too far away. It's like 5 or 6 hours. But all the guys that live in the south of Germany, we meet regularly, or we even have WhatsApp groups and go practice together.
Right. Okay.
Even with Greiner, we are in very good connection. Because it always helps to have other fast guys at the track
Yeah.
to kind of validate your results more, or have a better feeling for your results. At the same time, Dominik Reiner is the head of one club in Turkheim, which is the big
Okay.
trap, the Euros 2023 took place, which is probably the best track to practice for outdoor season in our area or in south of Germany. So we meet there quite often, and he's always there because he kind of lives there.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's more common to meet during practice. And the racing in Germany is not that big that you have a lot of let's say national level races, because most of the time it's Tony Sport races that just feature as German qualification races as well. But the let's say the German nationals are not that big compared to ETS or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
So I think, for example, in France or in UK as well, it's more active racing scene with more races on national level, and that are kind of cumulated together, the results or whatever. In Germany, we only have qualification runs and then one big national race at the end of
Oh,
the
okay.
year. And only the national race is counted, so you don't need to collect points or whatever to get national titles.
Right.
So that's why most of the guys only do like one qualification run, and then they do the usual ETS practice or whatever practice
Okay.
and try to be prepared for the national event. But ranking wise, it's a pity that it is that way, but ranking wise, I would not say that at the moment the German nationals are ranked super high in level or in priority. For example, the touring car nationals were at the same weekend practice in California took place. So that's why Mark was not there, Ronald was not there, I was not there, and all that. So it's a pity, but that's how it is at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when there's that many big races and schedules are going to clash somewhere along the way,
Yes.
for sure.
Yeah.
So what's the racing scene like at the moment? Is it peaking, or is it in a low spot, or is it kind of just stayed the same since you started, or because every country has its own sort of thing going on, and obviously every class is different as well. But what's it like for electric touring car?
In my opinion, it's stagnating a little bit. The number of participants is not super high, but at the same time, the answer is always the same. It depends. You can have races with 150, 160 racers, like Tony Sport races. My local club, for example, has always every year has the race at the first weekend of January, and there are only already 150 registrations, and they
Wow.
need to close because the club is not that big. We can't handle more. And at the same time, then there are German national races with like 60 people.
Yeah.
So it's not a thing with people. I think participants would be there and would be a lot. Um, but you need to make the racing more interesting or the races
Mm.
more attractive. And of course, it's always attractive if you have Mark, Ronald, and whoever attending the races, because that's what people want to see.
Yeah.
And that's the guys people want to compete with as well, as same as in stock class. They want to compete against Ellerbrock or Kretschmer, Benson, whoever. And sometimes on German nationals that's not the case because they don't attend. Um, I think in whole Europe the scene is very good at the moment. There are other big races like the GP3F in Longwy, which is yeah highly expected to be one of the best races of the year. A lot of participants. You need to be super fast with registration because it's yeah just so popular. So it's not racing in general that is having kind of a ditch.
Yeah.
It's just it depends on what series you select, and
Yeah. Yeah.
at the same time the cost for living is super high everywhere, I think, in Europe, and um, yeah, this is what leads to a lower number of participants at big races
Yeah.
as well,
Yeah.
I can imagine.
Yeah, but the it seems like the really high end racers, because let's be honest, the kits that you guys are running, they're not cheap. You can buy a real car for the price of just a bare chassis in some cases. But that market seems to be fairly stable, whereas maybe it's the basher, the intro market of people who just want to get into RC. Maybe that's, I mean, maybe
Yeah, I
it's a
think that
discussion for a different
probably
podcast,
the
but
I think the entry level is missing at the moment
yeah,
because the entry into the hobby is very hard or very high, very expensive, and at the same time, it sounds stupid if I say when I started because I'm not super old, but I'm 29 and I do this for 23, 24 years already. When I started, there were not that many other things you could do.
yeah,
And right now you can do sim racing or gaming on PlayStation, Xbox,
yeah,
whatever, and you buy a gaming console once, and the kid is kind of happy for the next 2 or 3 years until the
exactly,
next
yeah,
generation comes up. And from the cost of one gaming console, you get like half the car if you want to do serious racing.
yeah.
And then there's a
You
lot
still have
of
to get
more money to spend because you
all
need
the
to
other
travel
stuff.
there, tires, batteries, spare
Yeah,
parts, option parts, whatever. Um, so this is what making the entry into the hobby quite hard. But at the same time, I don't understand it that much, to be honest. Because you should think that with Instagram and all that stuff, you should get more popular as a hobby and more common because there are cheaper kits, for example, Tamiya
yeah,
TT01 or whatever, that people could race, but many people don't know about it because if you
yeah,
tell someone about the hobby, many will say, "Oh, that's super interesting. I've never heard of it," or "How do I get started?" or whatever. So we have kind of the information available, but we don't share it enough. Which shows, to be honest, that whole RC business is taking part on Facebook. And no, I think no one of the young guys or young kids that are searching for a cool hobby, they are not on Facebook anymore. I'm not even
no, no,
sure whether they are on Instagram. I
no.
I'm not sure,
It's
but Instagram more likely
Snapchat
than
or
Facebook.
something. Yeah,
Yeah, something like this. So I think if someone like Mark or Michael now or Bruno, if they would switch to probably TikTok even and do
yeah,
some reels and clips there and show their stuff, or Alex Hackberg is super good with his social media as well. Probably it's one way to go to get more young people into the hobby is to switch platforms kind of. But at the same
yeah,
time, you can't switch. You need to do the other thing in addition because switching from Facebook would mean that you are not that interesting anymore from the people that are the market anymore, and they are on
yeah.
Facebook, obviously.
Yeah, yeah, and it's at a certain point, it's the moms and dads and the grandparents who are on Facebook, who maybe they can show their
Yeah,
other
probably.
moms and
Yeah.
dads stuff like that, and yeah, it's a weird thing. It's a weird thing, but yeah, maybe getting like dance challenges or something like that going on TikTok for the racer guys or
I
something.
would love to see this. You can start a dance challenge with Michael, and
Yeah,
Michael will is good friend of Mark, so he can get Mark to do it.
yeah.
And if Michael and Mark do it, then for sure some other guys will need to do it as well. So this you can start this.
I'll check up with them. I'll check up with them. All right. So now one thing that we haven't touched on is the magical white hoodie. How did that start? Tell us. I mean, we you and I joke about it a little bit when we see each other in person. But how did that start?
It's hard to tell. At first, you need to know that I'm sometimes a rather strange guy. So Tim and Max, they would even call me autistic for several reasons. Because, for example, if I think of something giving me good luck, I will just stick with it for the whole weekend. Um, so it can happen that I eat something on Friday morning for breakfast, and if Friday is good, then I have to eat the same thing on Saturday and Sunday as well.
Of course, it only makes sense.
So you need to somehow know this about me, and this makes the story more clear. And then
What a weirdo.
I'm not even sure how it started. I think it was this year's TITC or something, where I wore all white on Saturday and Sunday. And backstory behind this, I don't know what happened with the shirt I had on Sunday at the TITC, but got wet from all the champagne shower thing we had, and I put it on my pit space and switched shirt that I already had in my bag because we left in the evening, and the white shirt that was wet somehow got stolen or got
Ah,
thrown away or whatever. We couldn't
okay.
find it anymore, so this is kind of where the joke started. Yeah, the white thing now is super popular, and yeah, that's kind of the start of the tradition that I wear white always at Saturdays and Sundays. It's always on the important race days. And as we said before, this 2024, this year was super good for me, so it kind of became a tradition to do it again. And most likely I need to reorder some white hoodies at Tori Sport and get some more because they are used a lot and worn out a lot. And I think on my Instagram, no one wants to see only pictures with me in the white hoodies, or I need to think of something else. But at the same time, I think at the beginning of the year, I somehow started this. And now I think Schumacher is he having official shirts in white color,
They
and
do have.
Axon as well. They
I
had
did
white
see
shirts as
Macau
well.
in some. Yeah.
So I just consider myself the trendsetter in this case
Yes.
because I to be honest, I really like it to be somehow different on the driver's stand because all the pictures you always see or the podium pictures, everyone is wearing black or
Yeah.
obviously the dark blue from X-ray. So a little kind of color or a little touch of color does help, I think,
Yeah.
to make a better look for everyone.
Well, while we're on that subject, all the car chassis manufacturers need to start anodizing their parts again. And everything's black now. You know what I mean?
I can't tell, or I won't say bad words about this because the biggest fan of black color is Tim. So that's why why my cars are always super clean in the recent months because all the time he's doing the preparation, he will use black stickers everywhere and make everything look super clean and all that stuff. So I can't be the one saying that I don't like it,
Okay.
but at the
Okay.
same time, I really enjoy that cars are different and cars different colors. Obviously, I started with Tamiya Cup 20 years ago, and so the light blue is kind of a signature color I really enjoy. But at the same time, new colors, for example, the RC Maker car with this, I think, bronze color thing, also
Yeah.
looks super good, and I really
It
like
does.
that
Yeah.
there's some differences in colors at least.
Yeah. I mean, way back in the old days, I think pre-2000 HPI was using that. They called it root beer color internally, but I think it was more like they called it platinum or something like that. But it wasn't really platinum. It was just like that sort of bronzy sort of color, but not bronze. But
Yes.
it was aluminum. But yeah, very cool. So you started with Tamiya Cup. So what was your first car? Was what, a TA01 or TT01
I
or something?
started with a fighter buggy
Okay.
and then did Tamiya Fighter Cup, and from Tamiya Fighter Cup progressed to Tamiya Euro Cup with TT01, TA02, and went on with TRF cars as long as they were in the Tamiya Cup. And I started my studies or my university in 2013, finished in 2016, I think. Then I got the big opportunity to attend the Tamiya World Championship in end of 16 as well, where I could win. And that's where my teammate at the time, Christian Donat, who I learned a lot from in Tamiya Cup, um, kind of convinced me to try go to the ETS races some more. Then we had 1.5 ETS seasons together with racing Tamiya at the ETS, and then Max came to my hotel room late at night and convinced me that I need to switch to automatics.
Late at
And
night. What kind of discussion was that?
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
I think he already convinced Christian at the time.
Yeah.
But I was super happy with Tamiya, and I really enjoyed Tamiya, and it was kind of um, kind of a family thing for me to stay with Tamiya. and yeah, that's why they needed a long time to convince me. And then it was Max with Freddy Süthoff at the time, who was our modified top runner, and they were discussing with Christian or whatever, and Christian sent them a message, yeah, then come over and we will clarify now at the hotel room. So it was like 1 at night or something like this. They came to our hotel room, we had a big discussion about it, and yeah, then I joined Automatics.
Yeah,
The discussion
well,
was at the last ETS in Trenčín. So at the race, the Hudi Arena, they convinced me to join Automatics.
Very good, very good. Well, it's been a fantastic career progression, I guess. So obviously, mod is what your focus is going to be for at least the touring car in 12th, I suppose, for next year.
Yes, for sure.
And you mentioned, only because you mentioned your day job of mechanical engineering. So, is there anything like, are you interested in designing RC parts at all, or is that not?
At the moment, I'm rather happy to have a clear split. To be honest, at the moment at my day job, I do more Outlook, Excel, and PowerPoint than I do on CAD.
Right.
But sometimes I open up the CAD and kind of design whatever thing, but this is more just for a general idea, and then I send it to Oleg, what he thinks about it or something like this. But I would not, it would be very unfair to say that I have a big influence on today's car design for automatics. I have basically no influence. I can share some ideas for tests I want to, or for parts I want to test, but it's not like I'm sitting there 5 hours a week thinking about something, because if you're doing full-time job, you're happy to close down the laptop and watch some Netflix or whatever.
Very much so. All right. Well, I can tell from the window behind you that the sun has definitely gone down over there in Munich. So I think we'll let you enjoy the rest of your evening. And thank you very much for joining us here.
Yeah, thank you. I have to thank you a lot for the opportunity. It was great having a chat. And yeah, I will come back on the dancing idea. You need to share it with Michael. And if you need whatever support, then I can try to offer this as well.
We'll talk to them. We'll talk to them all in dawn at ETS.
Okay, then don't forget to drop this idea to them.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Simon. See you.
That's it for this video, but don't forget to subscribe and check out the rest of our RC Racing video series. And don't forget, be an RCTV hero. Make sure to hit that join button and find out all the details about being an RCTV hero.